Hey there, friends. Welcome to Just the Gems. My name's Brandon, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. But before we begin, would you do me a favor and click that like button? And if you wouldn't mind, subscribe as well. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. As I've mentioned before on this channel, I have too many games, and having so many games has caused me to develop a case of acute choice paralysis. So rather than just continue to stare at my shelves in the vain hope that one of my games will fall off under its own power and into my open hands, I've decided to seek help. Not that kind of help, not yet. My wife Jen has perused my collection looking for a game that captures her interest. Now, here are the rules. Whatever game she picks, I have to play for at least 2 hours. And based on the time that I've spent playing the game, I have to give it a fair review. If I like it a lot and want to keep playing, great. I will continue playing and I will have a great time. If I hate it and it's garbage and I can tell right away in the first 10 minutes, too bad. I'm stuck for at least 2 hours. Them's the rules, and I'm gonna stick to them. So as much as I'd like to have control of my own destiny, it's out of my hands. Okay, so Jen has finished combing through the game room and she has picked out the game that she is going to force me to play.
You have to cover your eyes.
So, as I said in the beginning, I'm going to play whatever game this is. I have no knowledge of this ahead of time. Here we go.
You really don't have to cover your eyes.
Haven! Okay, so this is Haven.
It's so heavy.
This is by the Game Bakers. This was put out by Limited Run. It's number 11 in their PlayStation 5 line. And it asks, does love really conquer all? You and Kay have escaped to a forgotten planet, leaving everything they knew behind. Play two lovers at the same time as they settle into an unknown world. Explore the planet looking for parts and material to fix your ship and make it a cozy home. They spell cozy the British way. That's gonna bother me. Already I'm finding fault. Enjoy moments of everyday life as a relatable couple while cooking meals, crafting, and collecting precious resources to make it to the next day. That's just what we do. We cook and we craft materials. Fight against...
Get back to our hometown.
Fight against those trying to tear you apart by synchronizing actions in combat, finding the perfect timing and rhythm while controlling both characters, and battling to keep them and the relationship alive. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually was looking forward to playing this, so it's great that I have an excuse. Now I have to do it. And yeah, this is 1 to 2 players, so maybe you'll get roped in for some of this. We'll see. Let's get to it. Haven is a bit of a strange game to start this series with. Really, I guess trying to review any game with only around 2 hours under your belt is gonna feel weird, because I can't give you a definitive thumbs up or thumbs down about the gameplay or the story, and certainty is what we crave. But Haven in particular is different from basically every other JRPG I've ever played in this. It is essentially a co-op game. Now, there's a single-player option too, of course, but the game does seem to want you to play cooperatively if possible. Before I get too deep in the weeds with the gameplay though, let's talk about the story so far. Haven drops us right into things in media res, which is Latin for in media res, or this story moves fast. That is a joke. Please laugh. It didn't sound like you meant it, but that's okay. Seriously though, in media res means in the middle of things, and it's honestly my favorite way to start a story. We're introduced to you and Kay, the two lovers that are the central characters of the story, and I'm just realizing I hate the word lovers. It's weird. I don't like it. Anyway, after you choose the gender makeup of your pair, and it's only male or female presenting, but there are 3 options to choose from, you find yourself in a small ship on a planet made up of bizarrely floating islands. They refer to them as islets, which I've decided is another word I hate. I cannot explain why, and I don't care to try. Through bits and pieces of dialogue, we learn about their situation. They're on the run from some organization that was going to force them to marry other people, but darn it, they're in love. So they took their tiny spaceship and flew it to an abandoned planet in the hopes of living out their lives together peacefully. The implication is that this organization is likely looking for them, and while that hasn't popped off just yet, as the kids say, I expect it's coming. The best thing about this backstory presentation is the way the dialogue doesn't baby us. Nobody starts a line by saying, "as you know," and then goes on to say something solely for the benefit of the audience, something that a real person would never say in that situation. We infer the details through their conversations. The realism of the dialogue is helped by the performances, which so far have been top-notch. K is pretty straight-laced and practical, and U is much more free-spirited, and their actors nail it. They have a fun flirtatiousness that's enjoyable to watch.
Awesome.
Your butt's awesome.
Say it again to my face.
I am buttface. We're playing the PS5 version, though I kind of doubt there's much of a difference if you're playing on last-gen consoles. The game looks good, but it's pretty much all down to the art style and design. It has a very solid color anime aesthetic, which is easy on the eyes. However, so far we haven't seen much in the way of scenic variety. There's just the interior of your ship and the grassy, hilly islets you flow around on.
Reminds me of that flower
Good
girl.
finger.
Jen's right, this does feel pretty reminiscent of Flower in terms of the gameplay. Holding R2, or right trigger for those of you playing on the incorrect console. Just kidding. Dear Lord, I don't want to get caught up in the console wars. Xbox is fine. It's fine. Ahem. Holding R2 sends you flying forward, which is great because your walking speed is painfully slow. Whichever player presses R2 first is in the lead and controls the overall direction your pair flies. The other player can move around in relation to the lead player and can also send out a weird blob thing to gather items using the right stick. It's a smart way to keep both players engaged while keeping you close together. Overall, the active gliding feels pretty nice and it gives you a decent sense of speed and control. Is he dabbing? I think he's dabbing.
Mine's that. I can't dab.
See, that's sexist. Women can dab. The main gameplay loop so far has involved gliding around the islets gathering flow, which are areas that start as glowing lights and then turn into little light trails that you follow. Flow is what powers your ship, so it's important to grab whatever flow you can as you're out and about. Another main point of exploring is to find ingredients to cook, since hunger is a stat that you're supposed to keep track of.
What's that you got cooking?
Apple dew stew with apple dews.
Didn't we have that yesterday? Or the day before?
No. Yesterday it was baked apple dew with apple dews.
Wait, what did he just say?
Before it was fried apple dews.
With apple dews. I remember now.
She's not very grateful.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm doing what I can to switch up our meals.
Look at this guy, just
But
doing
in
his
my
best.
defense, we have a pretty limited set of ingredients.
And while you're out gathering food, you also need to keep an eye out for parts you can use to repair your ship. That seems to be the main quest where we're at in the story at this point. Splattered around the islets, you'll come across areas covered in rust. I'm capitalizing rust here verbally because it's an important word and because it's not literal rust like what happens to your dad's lawnmower when you leave it out in the rain. Sorry, Dad. It's some sort of strange substance that's driving the native animals wild. Flying over the rust cleans it up, so it's not hard to deal with, but occasionally you'll run into an animal that's been affected by it, and that's when a battle starts. In battle, you each have 4 commands: a ranged attack, a physical attack, a shield, and pacify. Pressing and holding the corresponding button or direction lets you choose what to do, and eventually you're able to partner up with the other player to perform duo attacks. These involve charging the same attack and releasing it within the same window of time as the other player. It's a bit tricky at first, but eventually it clicks and it starts to feel second nature. Your goal isn't to kill the monsters, but to weaken them to the point where you can use your pacify skill to cure them of their rust rage.
I say we don't kill him.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Battles are a good break from the regular gameplay loop. They're not super frequent, but they're entertaining when you get to engage in them. They're not perfect. Sometimes you'll find an attack you've charged and activated gets canceled by an attack from the enemy, but the way this happens doesn't feel like a super intentional mechanic by the developers. It almost feels like a mistake. I'd much rather the attack I've set up be queued to just launch after the enemy's attack animation plays, or at least give me some other indication that my attack was canceled besides just not happening, but that's a very minor quibble. You gain experience through fighting battles and performing various other tasks as well. Leveling up is interesting, and it's something that wasn't immediately obvious. For quite a while, we were at max experience and not able to actually gain any more. Every time we would finish a battle or do something to gain new experience, the meter wouldn't fill up, and instead it would just show us a pair of clinking glasses. I should mention that there are actually very few tutorials that pop up in this game, which for the most part I'm glad for. But this is one area I think where I wouldn't have minded a quick pop-up when we reached max experience the first time. So apparently what you have to do is return to your ship and pop open a bottle of wine to celebrate. That's what the clinking glasses mean, I guess. You're treated then to a nice little conversation between you and Kay, and then your level advances and your characters power up. It's a cool little touch. The game is full of cool little touches like that, actually. Natural conversations that play out as you go about your daily tasks, the sorts of little squabbles and inside jokes that couples have. At this point, close to 3 hours in, Haven feels more like a cozy life sim than a full-blown sci-fi RPG. That's not a bad thing. It's just an observation. There's every chance that things could get more intense in the near future, and I'm excited for that possibility, but even if it doesn't, even if it stays this chill and cozy, I'm here for it. There aren't enough games like this. RPGs you can play with a partner, games about realistic relationships where the goal isn't to get the girl or get the guy, but to foster and grow an already existing relationship. We may only be a few hours in, but this is one we're going to see through to the end. Well, that's Haven. I'm, shall we say, pleasantly surprised. This had caught my attention back before it had come out, and I kind of pushed it to the back of my mind even after I pre-ordered it. Sort of forgot that it was a thing. It arrived in the mail, and I thought, oh, yeah, right, that thing that I watched the trailer for and thought it looked cool. And I would not have been surprised if I never opened it and played it. So I'm glad she picked it because it's actually a lot of fun, and it's fun for us to play it together. I think we're going to keep going even beyond the 2.5 hours that we put into it so far. I would love to hear what you think. Have you played Haven? Let me know if it keeps getting better, if it takes a turn for the worse. Keep it spoiler light just because I would like to probably finish this regardless, but I'm curious to know what you think of it. Any other games that you think maybe Jen and I should check out together? Some co-op stuff. Probably not so much on the competitive side because I don't want to get my butt kicked, you know what I'm saying? Once again, if you would please like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye. Haven is not a challenging game. We recommend starting with the default difficulty level. Did you need something? I'm trying to play a game.